Welcome, everyone. We'll start our meeting in a moment, but I'd like to start first with a prayer by Pastor Rachel.
Please pray with me. Gracious guiding God, we thank you for this opportunity to do your will, to do your business in this community. We pray that you would give us discernment today. We pray that you would give us encouragement. Be with us as we make decisions for the future of our church. We ask this in your Son's precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Rachel. And it's so good to have you back safe and sound from Guatemala. Well, welcome to our 2023, January 29th, 2023 annual meeting at Trinity Lutheran Church, Hemet. I just want to make a comment before I begin the meeting that if you're up here speaking when it's your turn, if anyone asks a question or makes a comment or from the floor, please repeat what they say so that everyone else can hear what it was about. Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do have a quorum.
Okay, Madam Secretary is Priscilla Lindquist, and she says we do have a quorum. And thank you to all of you who are still busy bees out there cleaning up and helping end our service completely. Okay, so first thing on the agenda is going to be to approve the minutes from last year, January of 2022, excuse me. Dropped my pen and I need it. Okay, I hope that some of you have had time to at least skim the good work that Joe Neely was doing at that time, typing up our minutes. And they're usually pretty perfect. Are there any questions about the minutes or comments? Yes, Leonard.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
I have a motion from Leonard that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
I have a second from St. Jean. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from last year, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, so the minutes are approved as written. Thank you. All right. The pastor's report is next. I asked Pastor Wignall for some comments since he preached here more than anybody else did this year. And he wrote, as you probably have read, a really nice little letter to us. I'm not going to read it to you, but I'm going to highlight a couple things. First of all, he's made a lot of connections between the Methodists and the Lutherans, and actually worked quite closely with a fellow pastor up the street at the Methodist Church for many years, doing Holy Week together. And they plan to continue that on, since it used to be done that way, and they continue to do that. He also works quite a bit at Faith Lutheran, and of course here at Trinity Lutheran. And he seems to be really good at making connections and preaching and just having generally a really good, warm feeling with us, and we really appreciate him. He jokes a lot about how the Methodists are always asking, "Where have you been?" And he says, "I've been abducted by the Lutherans." But actually is very involved still with the Methodist Church in his retirement with their ecumenical things and a lot of things the pastors get together. That's why he knows Pastor George Crisp so well. And that's how he came to know about us. So he said he admires the work we've done, having an intern pastor here with Pastor Rachel. He doesn't run into churches too often that are willing to do what we've done. And he's very pleased with what we do, and he was happy to be part of that. Okay, moving on to my report. And again, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I would like to highlight a couple of things. I am truly blessed to work with a council that is just so positive and so hardworking. It's been an honor to be president this year. As you know, we only serve 1 year at a time as president. We do have a president-elect. Everything looks like it's going to move on to Jeff, who's been president before, Jeff Snyder. But that is up to the council to decide at their first gathering. For you, it's up to you to elect the council members that we need. Some of us are still on our 2-year biennium. For instance, I don't go off. I will be serving another year, and I'll get to that later. And then some are going to be new. But I would like to thank those who were on council this year and worked very, very hard. And I'd like you to stand if you're here. Leonard Gleason, Jeff Snyder, Priscilla Lindquist, Jerry Johnson. Yolanda's on a wonderful cruise, so she won't be back for a couple more days, but I do appreciate her too. Let's give them a hand for all the work they've done. Thank you. I'm also grateful for Pastor Brian Foxworth. He has attended all of our meetings. He visited our shut-ins. He's been our liaison to the Pacific Synod office in Santa Ana. I'm also very grateful to intern Pastor Rachel, who's attended almost every meeting and leads our opening devotions. We actually spend quite a bit of time doing devotions before we start our meetings every single month. We also have 2 people who've been very active this year that are not council members, but substitutes or acting in another office that's very important. One is Charlie Larson, who's our lead on the sale of our property, so she's been at all our meetings to help keep us up to date on what's going on. And Joe Neely, who substitutes as secretary quite often and does a wonderful job helping. You can see the bullets down below, summary of all the things that I just popped into my head. We've done so many different things this year. It all runs together in my brain sometimes. But we started the year with table talks and did the big yard sale. We're still working on inventory, so we'll probably do 1 or 2 more yard sales before we feel like we've weaned it down enough so that we can just keep in the church what we need to run church until we actually are moving on to another place. Lots of maintenance and repairs and chip bark. You're going to get reports on property from Leonard later, and so he'll get into detail more on that. We have the monthly meals still going out to Valley Restart, lots of fundraisers from the Trinity Mission Support, plus grants from the mission support team and grants from our endowment board, not only to students but to missions around our city and our country. I also want you to know that, intern Pastor Rachel doesn't just come here and preach and work in the office with us, but she also teaches Bible studies and does a myriad of other things, calling people who are ill. And there's a lot that goes on in the office. It's been humbling for me to be there helping and working with Christine for over a month now to see all the stuff that happens in that office. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But believe me, there's a lot that goes on. And special thanks goes to Christine because as you know, with having a stroke, it took her a while, but she came back. She's 100% like she was before, and we're so happy for her. Let's give her a hand for all the work she does. She's been training me, and she's amazing in the stuff that she does. So we all have to be grateful to her. I'm also grateful for my husband who comes here faithfully every Sunday. Films our services. We did that survey, and I actually received back emails from a lot of you who not only watch it at home when you're not able to come, but you send it on to others, maybe family, maybe friends or relatives, some as far away as Washington and Oregon, and it was amazing that what people told me about. It was fun to see, and it made me feel that we're really reaching out. Plus, you know, every Sunday when that goes out, or Monday sometimes, Teresa Berg puts it on our Facebook. She's our Facebook administrator, and she puts it out, and no one ever knows all the places that it reaches and all the people that might be watching it and looking forward to it. So it's something that we want to keep doing as long as we can. I'd like to thank the main pastors who have come here this year to preach: Pastor Christine Buma, Pastor Shane Freiberg, who's in Japan right now on tour, on duty, deployed there. He will be coming back in August, so we're looking forward to working with him again when he comes back. Pastor Glenn Eggerson from the Lutheran camp up here, who comes in whenever he can, when he's not busy at another church or running the camp. And of course, Pastor Rex Wignall, who has done the lion's share of our services lately and wants to continue doing that. So he's just been a real blessing. We want to remember to pray for the people that are on our property that rent from us. We pray for the Casa de Oración Church that is in here every Sunday after us. And also they come for their women's prayer groups on Wednesdays. We want to pray for the Door ministry that Pastor Aaron Jackson runs in our fellowship center. We want to pray for the Valley Community Pantry, who feed a lot of the seniors, the veterans, some homeless, a lot of people that really need that food and that help. And we want to pray for the Al-Anon people that come here to help people who got family members who are suffering from alcoholism, and also the Talks group. So it's something I would like to start. I'm in the process of making a mural, or not a mural, a collage of pictures of all these different groups while they're working and operating on our campus, and kind of show it off so everybody can see it. I also want to thank Dan Soto, who makes sure that we always have meals over to Valley Restart, and all of you people who are Thrive-It members who are adding to the amount of money we need in order to feed all those people at the Valley Restart Center. And what was that? One more thing I want to mention. We get volunteers sometimes in the office. It is critical that Christine continue to get volunteers the last week of the month. Publishing the Trinitarian, publishing the bulletin, publishing like these annual minutes. It's a lot of work, believe me. And the two of us worked a lot of hours together to get it done. So I now know exactly how much work just that alone is. So anybody that likes to just put stickers on and labels on and fold things, and it's not hard, but think of her, that last week every month, volunteer, give her a call, volunteer to go in there and help her for a couple hours. That's all it takes. Thank you. Okay, Treasurer's Report. Leonard is going to cover for Yolanda, and so he will be bringing the Treasurer's Report to you today.
Good morning. I'm going to try to make this look simple. Yolanda would first like to thank everyone of our members who prayerfully support us and also financially support us. This past year was a good year for Trinity. Our offering income was slightly over budget this past year. Our other income was slightly under budget. So our total income was $149,947. We budgeted $151,570. So we were under budget by about $1,600. And if the pantry would have paid us in December what they paid us in January, we would have been really close. So I applaud the Finance Committee a year ago that did all that work to come up with a budget that was really very close to balancing. We were over budget in our general and administrative expenses for a combined total of about $6,600. All of our other expense categories were under budget by over $16,000, which means we managed to spend nearly $10,000 less than we budgeted. Again, it's working with the council and a team on the property committee that helps us come up with these solutions that cost us less money. So we were very, very pleased to see that this past year. So to recap, our total income for last year was just shy of $150,000. We spent just over $140,000, so we ended up with a surplus of $9,236. Our year-end bank balances, as you can see, the general account is our operating account, which is had a balance of $56,362.29 at the end of the year. And our revolving accounts had a balance of $30,214.57, for a grand total of $86,576.85. Some side notes about the property. I will wait and get into those when I do my property report. But Yolanda, she's enjoying her cruise, which you can't blame her for that. But she really does appreciate everything that the Finance Committee does and our church council does to keep us all together. Yes, Sandy?
What's our revolving account?
The revolving account are funds set aside for different items, such as we have a maintenance and building fund. People can donate to that. We have different funds for different projects going on at the church. So those are designated funds to be spent only on the items that they're designated for. Any other questions? You thought you'd throw me a curveball, didn't you? That is Yolanda's report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leonard. Any further questions about the funding? Okay, hearing none, we're going to hold it. The report is accepted. We will hold it over for our audit. Thank you. Let's go on. Endowment. I'd like to call up Debbie first, who's been part of the endowment board and worked with giving the scholarships and grants out.
Well, I first want to thank Gabe. He moved back east. He was our president, and we usually always had a Zoom meeting, so that worked out really well because he worked out of town also. And Tammy Beveridge was new on the endowment last year, and she's the treasurer, and we're thankful for that. And Sandy Gleason, she handles all the grants for the college funds and for the mission funds, and that's a lot of work, and we really appreciate that. And Joni Picard, she's our at-large. Thank her very much. And I'm the secretary. And this year we helped a lot. I think it's in the report anyway. I didn't take a copy of it, but the community pantry, Lutheran Glen Farm, Valley Restart, Lutheran Social Services, NAMI, and My City Youth. We donated $500 to each of those organizations. And then we had 3 college scholarships that we gave out this year, and they were very much appreciated by the folks that received them. And we also helped Pastor Rachel with her seminary expenses. So all in all, we had a pretty darn good year. We give out about 4 to 5% of our total amount that we have, and we are very, very grateful for the folks who have donated over the years to the fund, because without that, we wouldn't be able to be so generous with our giving. That's it.
Question?
Okay, a question from George.
In third quarter, you had a big disbursement, $69,000. I just wanted somebody to give what that went to.
Okay. The question was the big disbursement in the third quarter. So if you look across pretty much 2/3 of the way down here, you'll see that a huge amount of money came out of $53,210.29. But you'll notice it came in to the bank, the same amount of money. So, well, with a couple pennies, yeah. But so basically it went out of the CD that matured. And every year when the CD, not every year, there are 6 years. We do 6 years of those CDs, and it matured. And they had the choice of putting it back in for another 6 years, or taking out and putting it into the checking account and using it for the grant money, instead of pulling from our in-faith funds.
Thanks, Lynn. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that does jump out at you. In fact, when I looked at it the first time, I went, what? Oh, yeah, and then I remembered, of course, it's the CD. So it's been a long time since we've taken the money out of that CD. We started it way back when Pastor John was here, as I was on the endowment board. Saint was on it with me at that time, I remember. So anyway, yeah, that's what happened. But it's been renewed many times over. So.
And also, we can't use it for the expenses for the church.
Right.
It has to be.
Yeah, it can't go to the church, as you know. Endowed funds are specifically for education grants and missions. So that's why there is a separate bank account, a separate council that runs it and votes on it. We don't decide what those endowment funds go to as our church. It's a side thing. So. And we cannot put it into our money and then we pay our bills with it. It's not legal tax-wise or any other way. Now, a lot of churches don't have endowed funds. They just never started it, nobody donated or whatever. I went to a gathering several years ago with all the Lutheran churches in Southern California that had endowment funds. There were very few. I was shocked, I didn't realize that. So, yeah, I'm very proud of the saints that came before us, because they're the people, mostly, that put all that money in there, and it's still there. We only take, generally, from the growth, the amount we earn. We take about 4 to 5% each year. Some years we earn 10%, but we still take 4 to 5%, because some years we don't earn so much. And if we do that steadily, we maintain that nice big chunk of money that's there, that we have a lot of ability to help interns get through seminaries and students to get through college and get even their doctorate degree. Some are just getting out of high school and want to go to college, and we help them if they're members of our church, or your children, members. Okay, enough on that, but thank you. This is a good printout, Tammy. I thank you for doing this work. Where's Tammy? There she is. Let's have the endowment board stand up so you know who they are. Tammy, Debbie, and Sandy are here. Truly, thank you for the work you do. I used to be on it, and I love that board. It's a wonderful thing that we do. Okay, I am going to move on to the, looks like the mission support team. I can get through that one quick because I can do that one. Okay. What I did, instead of giving you a great big spreadsheet with all these different incomes and outgoes that we do, I gave you just this abbreviated version because basically these are the 4 things that we watch. We watch for personal donations, fundraisers, then expenses and grants that we give out. We are not the endowment board, but we're like a little mini one within our church, actually. It was started to help bring in a pastor several years ago by the church council. So we work for the church council. We meet at different times. We meet online. It's easier. And the numbers in the top box are all the numbers all the money we brought in since it was started in November of 2015. Up to the end of December of this past December. So you can see the total we raised in those almost 7 years is $34,414.97. The amount of expenses plus grants that we've given out, $26,491.41. So right now we have $7,923.56 in our account. This year was an interesting year. So if you look at only this past year, same categories: personal donations, fundraisers, expenses, and grants. We brought in, from just personal donations, $1,975. Thank you to those of you who remember us. Some every week, even if it's only $5. Every week, there's people that donate to us every week. It's really nice. Some will donate once in a while. But that's a lot of money to bring in just from kind donations that they give over and above what they give to the church. Fundraisers, we did that big yard sale. We brought in almost $3,000, $2,778.16. Expenses this year weren't too high, $645.68. Expenses are things like we sell the coffee, the Lutheran World Relief Coffee. We buy it first, and then we sell it. We don't make much, but it's an in and an out. So that's an example of expenses. Sometimes we need money to make money. We needed boxes and markers and paper and charts for that big yard sale, things like that. So it does add up. Grants, though, we were able to give $3,500, and that all went to the internship fund. So this year, we only made a net of $607.48. But like I said, we actually have $7,923.56 in our account. And that's the Trinity Mission Support Team's report. Any questions? Thank you for coming to Applebee's and everywhere else we go, because all those things are just add to it. That helps a lot. Okay, internship. The internship committee, I'd like them to stand, is Shireen up there and Debbie down here. Shireen and Debbie and I meet every month with intern Pastor Rachel. We iron out little wrinkles and how things are being done. If she has any problems or questions, she asks us. We just work to support her in general, and it's required to have a committee that does that at each church that has an intern who works with Luther Seminary. So, no, not you.
No, I will not on that one.
Oh, who did I say wrong? Yolanda, you're right. Pardon me, Yolanda, when she sees this, she's not going to be happy. I said the wrong name, but thank you. Thank you, Debbie, for pointing that out. So that's basically what we do. We talk about funding a little, but it's mostly about other things, but whatever we can do to help just things run well for her so things turn out okay. Financially, though, I put it in here, the first 1.5 year is the top chart. And I had already given some of this information last time I gave a report, but it was only part of a year. So you can see that we only have a half a year left on the bottom chart. And that is because she is going to graduate on May 21st in Minnesota. Most of the cost of the bills and reimbursements will be finished up then by June 30th. So this budget runs July 1st through June 30th. It's like a scholastic year, like schools do and a lot of other organizations. So you can see the first year and a half, our total income was $59,595.70. Our total expenses, $45,412.31. So our balance on December 31st, just last month, was $14,183.39. It takes about $15,000 for a half a year. I know that from examining everything we've been doing. I've been watching it very carefully. And I do have the expanded spreadsheet if anybody ever wants to look at all of the different things we pay for. But it's everything from payroll to the time that Pastor Brian works with her. We pay him to do that. It's any costs that they have, like they have to travel or go to a seminar. Luther Seminary pays for some, others are extra, and we pay for them. So basically, the end of this year, you can see that if we have $14,183.39 in there, and it takes about $15,000, we're about there. But look down here. If people keep donating, we're going to have some miscellaneous donations. I only put 200 in that box. But the box above that, Luther payment, you might have forgotten, but they pay a major part of her salary, her monthly salary. And they give us chunks of money every quarter. And we should be getting 2 more quarterly payments from them to the total of $6,294.60. So with that added together, we should be up to almost $20,000, $20,677.99. So I'm thinking we're going to just about come out perfect. We have a final CPE payment back to Luther Seminary. We've already made 2. Each one was $1,700. We did 2 of those. Now we do $1,600. The total is $5,000. Every church that's involved in this pays that fee to them. I know it sounds funny because they're giving back money, but it's different money coming out of different pots. So we pay them, they pay us. So with the money transferred back and forth, we can expect that to come in, but where we have to give that to. There are some travel expenses coming up to get to Minnesota for the graduation and all that. Luther pays part of it, but we're not sure exactly all of it. So we need some money in there still to get through that. And also the training costs. There are a couple more seminars that Pastor Rachel is going to. And she's already booked them. They're all set, but we don't have how much we're going to pay yet. So we don't know that. I'm pretty sure we'll have enough in there to cover it. And then we still, I think, would only be spending about $19,100. So with the $20,600, I think we're going to come in just tiny under budget without having to do a big fundraiser. But I still need some of those you who have been donating to put a little money in extra now and then, if you can, for her, so we can finish this year out by June and pay for everything. If there's any money left, it's probably going to be put back into the endowment because they paid the bulk from our church. Our church didn't really put any big monies out from our budget, Most of it all came from endowment or the Trinity Mission support and donations. Any questions? Yes, Jeff?
I know that some people are stickler for numbers on reports. On the first half of the year, it says balance 1/1/2032. I'm guessing that should be 2023. It's the second column on the final half of this year.
No, actually, it's a year and a half ago. So it started in May of 2021.
Well, it's not 2032.
Oh, maybe I'm looking in the wrong spot. I don't know where you...
Second table.
Oh, the second table. I'm not looking there. Okay, where is it?
Second column. It says balance 0101.
Oh, you're right. It's a backwards. Yeah, I did it. That's 23. You're right. It isn't 2032 yet. It's 2023. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, I did a typo. You're right. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to ask Leonard. Pardon? Oh, George, I didn't see you. Pardon me.
What happens to all this money if the church doesn't survive?
Well, we asked those questions way back before we decided whether or not we wanted to sell. We had to ask from the Synod because we really didn't, we wanted to move on. We never expected to close our doors. We may close these doors, but our church is not going anywhere. Our church is still going to be alive and will still be somewhere. We may be in another building, a smaller building, that's our goal. We don't want to give up our endowment funds. The rule is, as long as we continue to be Trinity Lutheran Church, Hemet, we will keep our endowed funds. There is a technicality. What if we wanted to join Spirit of Joy and we don't have our name anymore? Technically, we have to give the money to the Synod. Well, we didn't think that was fair, so we asked them, and they said, oh no, as long as you're still in an active Lutheran church, we'll let you keep those endowed funds. We don't intend on taking them away from you. So if we turn to go to the Methodist church, we might not get that luxury because the rule is that endowed funds, if you stop being the name of your church, you no longer exist as an entity. What's the word I need?
TLC.
Yeah, you have to, something in the ELCA, then you have to give them up and give them to the ELCA, who in turn will put them with their endowed funds and give grants out. They have a lot of money over there. They have a lot of money over there. If you've ever been to an annual meeting with the Synod, you'll see there are millions and millions of dollars that they have in endowed funds, and they do give it out in big grants.
So if that were to happen, we have the opportunity to spend it real quick.
Well, I don't think we could spend it that fast. That would be really hard because, well, we'd have to give it all away. It's all mission. Yeah, we're not allowed to keep it for ourselves. It's got to be given out in education grants or mission grants. Good questions, George. Thank you. Okay, Leonard, you come back up.
When I took the job of head of property, I never appreciated how much Jack Simmons did around this property. So I learned a lot this past year. We had a busy year. At the beginning of the year, we had some of these old parking lot lights out in the parking lot. After a rain, several of them caught fire, shorted out the timer, and we weren't able to turn them on until we replaced those. And replacing them with the old style lighting was not a very smart thing to do. So we decided to go with LED lights, And we replaced actually 7 at a time, because if you replace 1 at a time, it's like $400. But if you place 7 at a time, they're like $250. So we saved some money and spent a little bit more money, and actually took the lights that were in need of replacing and replaced those and got them out of the way. These recent rains, we haven't had a problem with we still have some of the older lights out in the parking lot. We haven't had a problem this year after the rains. We did install safety railing on the north side of the Celebration Center. I believe that was well overdue, and I've had a number of our members give us some kudos about how that helps them with their balancing and getting up and down the curb. Learned that we have a fire sprinkler system that needs to be certified every 5 years. Had no idea. Welcome. The company that does that charges for each little infraction or thing that needs to be fixed. And we saved actually around $1,200 by fixing a lot of them ourselves. There was one thing I couldn't do myself. I let them do that, but for the majority of the things that needed to be fixed, we were able to do those and save some money on that. We had some cleanup around the property. We had trees and shrubs trimmed, approximately 12 shrubs removed, mostly for free. How did we do that? Well, each year, I know people that know people, right? The Hemet San Jacinto Interfaith Council holds an annual community cleanup day, and for like the last couple of years, our church has been, we've received that blessing of 25 volunteers coming onto your property and cleaning things up, and it really does help. And I also want to thank Mary and Mike for, we had some bushes removed on the south side over by the office building, and that really cleaned up that area. The shrubs were really overgrown, old, some were dying, and it just makes it really look nice and clean. And thank you, Mike and Mary, for getting some bark and filling in some of the blank spots, and really made that look nice. Our sanctuary HVAC system. I think it was this year we had to replace the Freon from the expensive Freon to the less expensive Freon. So that we did have to spend a little bit of money on the system, but for the most part, it's still working. And I appreciate Jack's continuing in that endeavor and handling the HVAC system stuff, so that frees me up to do these other things. Jim Leinberg at the pantry. Jim was blessed with some workers from a group called the Senior Community Service Employment Program. It's a state program where the workers are being paid and Jim receives the work at no cost. Well, one of the workers loves to do landscaping. And he's very detail-oriented. He took these islands out in the back, removed all the rocks, pulled all the weeds out, leveled it out, and put all the rocks back. The place looks great. Now with the rain, things are growing back again, but for a while, boy, our property looked really good back there. So I appreciate Jim at the pantry for doing his part in keeping our property cleaned up. Aaron Jackson from our Door Fellowship, he's contracted as part of his rental agreement with us to do the landscaping and some minor repairs during the year. And he has continued to bless us as we blessed him in keeping our property up to date. I would hate it if he had to leave and we had to go out and hire a landscaping company. It probably costs us over $1,000 a month to keep this place up. So really appreciate that. And I will continue to work with the property committee this coming year. That is my report. Any questions? Not seeing any. I'm out of here.
Okay, thank you, Leonard. We are going to move on to the sale of the property report from Charlie Larson. Come on up, Charlie.
Mary said I can only have 5 minutes, so. I don't know how many of you have read the report already. Oh, sorry. I don't know how many of you have read the report already, but there is more work in Sullivan Church than I ever imagined, frankly. We've been at it, 3-4 years now. Of course, COVID, kind of slowed things down. But it's starting to pick up a little bit. We have had, in the last 4 years, over 45,000 people look at our ad online, which is a lot. But as you can see, I broke it down a little bit. So currently, we have 3 ads that are rotating through some of the main sites for selling property. And these are sites, one of them is open so you guys can see it. It's loopnet.com. And we're on there. You can put in our addresses and you can see the ad that we have. And frankly, it's a beautiful ad. And they rotate that with one that only professionals get to see. And that's CoStar. And so they will switch them up because as they do with houses will go maybe a month, 2 months, and then they'll pull it off the ads, and then they'll put it back in multiple listings. So it looks new, and the numbers change at that point. So instead of being that it's been on the market 60 days, all of a sudden it looks like it's brand new when they start counting again. So this year, though, we had 4 different showings. That's where we walk around. We have, you may not know this, but I've learned from walking around, that there's 26 classrooms that we have here. It's also almost 2.5 miles if you walk this place, which you don't want to do in high heels, I learned. A couple of the people that looked at the place liked it, but they weren't real interested. But we had 2 that were very, very interested, and one came back for a second tour and brought more people, and they brought women. This is something I think is interesting. Houses, women go and look at houses, but for churches, it's men that come and look at it. And the women are much more detailed when they come in. They notice the little things. We've been doing really good. Most of the time, we would catch it when the men came around. I could see something that needed to be changed, and the ladies would change it and get it cleaned up. And then when they bring the women along, it looks great. It's good teamwork. So we had, last year, we had 1,165 views of our main ad. This is another thing I've learned. They can go into real good details. I mean, the stuff that you put on the net is definitely there. But we had that many views of our main ad. This is picking up because the first 2 weeks of January, then we had 1,402 views. And those were, in the report that I got, those were broken down. Last year's 187 were up unique prospects, 27 of which clicked on detailed pages. That means, well, you've gone through ads and you may click on the first one and then you just go back. But there were 27 of them that they went through the whole ad, which means they go through the kind of a history and different things about the church and the community are on that too. So 70 of them were considered anonymous. Those didn't get broken down to what the company name was. So the other 30% of that, 88% were from California, which is to be expected, and 12% are from out of state, including Chicago and New Jersey, which kind of surprised me when I first noticed that on the map. But those turned out to be investment properties, they're investment companies. There was a couple of them that the two from Chicago and the Chicago, New Jersey, those were zoning problems. They're looking to invest out here because, property is expensive and has been growing. But with our zoning problem, they can't do anything but put a church on it. So we've gotten to a point where we're too big for most congregations. The ones that we had maybe 300 people in their congregation, and they were hoping to get more. The one that we really thought would go through because they had the money, they've been all vetted, and they had the money to purchase it. They were really encouraged about it. There were no bad things. There was nothing that said, well, we don't want this, and well, this is going to be a problem, until they started talking about it after they'd seen it the second time. And it turned out that they're in Temecula now, and they're afraid that a lot of the people from their church wouldn't want to drive up to Hemet because it's 17 miles. I don't know if these people have ever lived in California very long, but everything's 17, 20 miles. So what we're doing now, and the council is aware of this, we've got some connections in Los Angeles and Long Beach and along the coast. We had a contractor and architect come out on Thanksgiving Day in the wind, and excuse me, because we were thinking about we want to change the zoning so we can put in housing, low-cost housing is what we've been thinking of for seniors and veterans, because there's so many of them in this area, and they don't make a lot of money. And we've run into this in our church. A few years ago, when the preschool was when it was closing, we had, at that time, at least 3 women whose husbands died that year. And they had to move in with their children, not because they wanted to, but because they couldn't afford their homes. Because as all of you know, back in the 50s and 60s, when a man got a job and had a pension, that was just for him. And when he dies, then she doesn't get any of that money. So a lot of the older people run into this situation. My brother just died, on Christmas Eve. And when I talked to his widow, she said that her biggest problem is that they lost half their money. And so she has to go along with what they're doing, but she doesn't have as much money for it. And as anybody that's single knows, it doesn't cost any less to be single than it did when you were 2 people. So the low-cost housing seemed like a perfect fit. Well, Yolanda happened to work for this architect and contractor. And so she introduced him, brought him out here, and we looked over the church, and he said this was great property for that. So from that, within a matter of a couple of weeks, we ended up making contact with an organization down in San Diego that develops low-cost housing on regular property and property that's already built. So we're proceeding with them. They've been introduced to the brochures, and the brochures will handle, all of the property type. There will be decisions that we'll have to make along the way. Some of them would be Do we want to have, do we want to keep one of the buildings? Are we going to have to split it off? Do the people, and this is where we only have a little bit of control. If we sell it, they may want all of the property, and they may not want us to remain here. Or they could decide that we could remain here either as not investors, as rentals, and you know, keep some of the property so that maybe we could keep the church, and then we have to remodel it for a smaller congregation. But that can be done. All of those things can be done. So there may be some decisions we have to make along the way about that. But this has opened it up to the investment. We just brought him over here to see what we could do, because we were going to do a layout so that we could see that it could be housing for low-cost housing. There's several things that have happened lately. The state of California is putting through a bill called SB4, and it pushes the cities to zone areas on church property and on school property, extra property for low-cost housing. So that can work towards us. Another thing I found out is before they nicely changed this to S1, we used to be R3, which would have solved our problems. So we're hoping that we can get it put back that way. But like I said, when we were in the process of trying to do that just for the church, then we ran into this situation where people are interested again, but they're interested in it for low-cost housing. In that case, and the council, I don't remember which one, but they have already decided that if we had to use a bargaining chip, we would pay for the zoning change so that they could buy the property, or offer them that. They haven't asked yet, so we haven't offered. So we do have ways to go. As to what we would do afterwards, I did do a presentation to the council that we went through exactly how much money we would have left after we sold it, what we would have to do to start a new church, to get a new church and start it up and have money left over for our missions. So the council is looking at these things. They're, but it's hard to see stuff like this, and most people don't want to see it. They just want to, whatever the results are. Any questions? Nothing. Good. If you do have any questions, give me a call, and I can explain to you whatever it is. I've learned a lot these last 4 years on the differences in a church being sold. For instance, the first thing I learned was that the state of California, the Supreme Court of the state of California, many years ago decided that appraising a church has different standards. And so you can't just, have a regular realtor check it out. So and then I've learned other things as we go along. Which has been interesting, but yeah. Yes?
Just out of curiosity, what's the selling price right now?
It's $3.3 million, which isn't bad. There's one about the same property-wise in town here that's going for, there's one that's going for 4.9, and then there's one that's going for 2.8, and it's right about the same property size for buildings and stuff, but they don't have the property set up that we do. So we're not real worried about it. And the 4.9, we're not worried because it's way out. Mary knows where it's in. It's way out east of here. And it's much bigger too. So you'd have to, maybe a school or something could possibly be there, but like I said, it's way east. It's not downtown like we are. The other one is further downtown, the one that's slightly smaller. It used to be a fitness center, I understand. So it has a totally different vibration to it than we do. Everybody that has come in here, they usually stop and kind of go, ah. And if they don't do it then, I take them up to the choir loft and let them see that from there. And everybody has been impressed. So, yeah, and there is some money out there. It's just, we haven't been able to tap into it yet. But I keep thinking maybe we weren't supposed to sell it to another church. Maybe we're supposed to put low-cost housing in here. It was brought up right from the start. I don't remember who was on the council then. Kathy was. But it was brought up from the start. Could we put low-cost housing here? And people were going, yeah, oh, okay, but we had a different idea of how we would work with it at that time. So, does that answer your question? We will come down a little bit. If you want to buy it, let us know. Yeah, that's a good way, yeah. Then you could write it off.
You know what the odds are that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, I know. So.
Charlie has done a real in-depth study of a lot of different angles. The idea of us changing the zoning from an S1, which is what we are now, to another R3 or whatever, we would have to get that by the city council, and they won't even, and the building department. They won't consider it unless you have a plan. So that's the reason we went with the architect, and we are having plans drawn up. You have to have some kind of a plan. What would you do with this property if it were low-income housing? How would you design it? If you walk in there and just say, we want you to change it, and you have no plan, they won't even listen to you. So it's not just the $52,000 it costs to get rezoning done. It's also you have to have a plan. So we're doing a lot of different angles. There's a lot more to it. And if you'd like to get involved or come to council meetings or be on our team, the group that works with the sale and that, let me know, because it is interesting. And there's a lot of different angles, but it's not just as simple that we could even explain it all today. She's only giving you a general idea of what's been going on. So you realize we've been very busy, but we're not there yet because we haven't found anybody that can buy our beautiful sanctuary and all of our other buildings. So thank you very much, Charlie. I really appreciate that. Okay, we are on to, let me look here, the election of officers. So we're on to the part where we're going to be voting. The first thing is going to be, let me see, what we put in here was the, I don't have the budget. I had it originally up by the treasurer and I meant to move it down on, there's a budget near the bottom. Okay, I just put these packets together in the wrong order. Election of officers is next. So for that, you will have to go to the back of the packet where there's black and red writing. We have two councils. We have the church council and the endowment board, where we are electing officers. We both have rotating ins and outs, so we never all go off at the same time. There are 7 positions in the church council, which is the top of the page. As I mentioned before, Mary Rust, I am staying because I am in the middle of my term. Leonard is in midterm but wants to go off right now, so we need a person for that position. It's a 1-year position. He has just 1 more year he would have been on. Jerry Johnson is in midterm like me, so he will stay on for another year. Yolanda will run again. She's at the end of her 2-year term, so she will run again. Jeff Snyder finishes again his 2nd year, and he will run again. Priscilla is in the middle of her 2-year term. She will stay on. Gabe has moved away, as you know, so we need another person for that. So we have 4 people that we need because of, like even Jerry's spot. I mean, Jeff's spot. Because he automatically is going off. So he needs to rerun again if he wants to stay on, and we would like him to do that since he's president-elect. So Charlie Larson has offered to run, Jeff Snyder has offered to run, Yolanda has offered to run, and Joe Neely has offered to run for 1 year only, so she would be able to take that 1-year spot very nicely. Is there anyone else who would like to run to be on the church council? I can take nominations from the floor, and you can nominate yourself too, if you'd like. We're always looking for new people. Okay, seeing none, then may I have a motion that we elect the 4 named people, Charlie Larson, Jeff Snyder, Yolanda Woodruff, and Joe Neely, as a slate. Okay, St. Jean
I make a motion that we accept it as a slate.
makes a motion that we accept them as a slate. Leonard Gleason is seconding that. Is there any further discussion? Okay. We will be handing out private ballots, so... well, I've got the ballots. I'd like to have them for record, but thank you. Debbie or someone back there is going to hand ballots out. But wait a minute, gals, because... Oh, you have? Good. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to move on to the other... No, maybe I can move on to it. I want to move on to the nominations for the endowment board, and then I'm going to have you vote on that ballot sheet for each of the people. So, moving on, the endowment board has 5 positions total. Joni Picard is going off, so we need a new one. Debbie Simmons will run again. Sandy Gleason stays because she's midterm. Tammy Beveridge stays because she's midterm. And Gabe resigned, so we need a new person in that position. Okay, so that's, we need Debbie to run again, so her name's on there first. Danielle Rifalato is Tammy's cousin. Danielle, wave your arms. She's always here with Tammy, or not always, but a lot of times she's right there. And Kathy Fodor, most of you know Kathy, she's walking around passing things out, who would like to run to be on the board, the endowment board. Do I have any other nominations from the floor? It's a really fun, it's actually a fun group to be on. Giving money away is kind of fun. They only meet 4 times a year. No takers, huh? Okay, well, with seeing none, then we're going to go ahead with this slate. I need a nominator for a motion to, okay.
Make a motion that we accept the slate as presented.
Okay, Saint again makes a motion that we accept the slate. Leonard has a second to accept the slate of nominees. Okay, with that, I'm going to give you a few moments to mark your ballots, and they're going to come around and pick them up. Just fold them in half and raise them up when you're done, and they'll pick them up. Christine is our counter today. She will be counting and collecting. Jack?
Can't we accept the election?
No, I've already answered that question. I want the record I would like to have the record on paper in the office. I've found others there, and I want us to follow suit. So we're going to put that record in the office records. Okay. I am going to go back then to talk about a couple of other things while you finish up your voting and they collect and count. Okay. Just want to mention the Pacifica Synod Assembly delegates. We do not have them nominated yet. It's a little early, It generally happens the end of May. If you've never been a delegate for our church, it's really kind of fun, and it's very interesting. This year it's going to be out in the desert, I think. Yeah, out like Palm Desert or somewhere out there. So it'll be a little closer and not quite so pricey. The church does pay for you to go, though. It's not like you have to pay for it. And it's a couple of days. You stay in a nice hotel, and you have meals. And you listen a lot, and you vote. We have the right to vote. So, again, the church pays for it. If you haven't done this, think about it, and let me know, or let Jeff know, or whoever you know on the council. Talk to one of us. Let him know you're interested in going and representing us. It's a one-time thing. He will come back and brief us on it, and maybe write a little report to tell us what were the major things that happened. They usually give you paperwork to bring home, so you'll have most of it done for you. So, but think about it. It's a really, I did it once, and I thought it was a real eye-opener for me, and for anybody that's not been to one. Doesn't matter how long you've been a Lutheran, going to the Synod Assembly is just a real eye-opener. It's so interesting. Okay, the budget. Leonard, you're going to present the budget on behalf of Yolanda.
Yes.
This budget we worked on one of them on the finance committee. We worked for many, many, many hours, several days. One day was 5.5 hours. We had to order pizza. So we really work hard on our budgets to make sure they balance and that they're realistic and that we can stick to them and make it. Thank you, Leonard.
I'll have you go ahead and turn to this page here that shows, it's near the back of the packet. It's the 2022 actual versus budget and the 2023 projected. And what I'd like you to do is pay attention to the far right-hand column, which is for 2023 projected. And what I want to do is basically give you the figure that we're asking to be approved in the budget, and then one or two sentences to kind of describe what brought us to that number. So we're proposing our total income of offering it would be $103,645. That was based on actual offerings of last year of almost $102,000, and also our pledges this year are $10,000 higher than we received last year. So that was a very positive sign to us. So we raised our income slightly. The other income total that we're suggesting is $47,250. Tenant rental income of $24,000, and then our internship income is going to be lower because intern Pastor Rachel will be graduating. So that gives us a total income for the year that we're projecting of $150,895. Any questions so far? Okay. Going down to the expenses, general expenses, we're suggesting that $19,870, which is a slight increase over last year. And that's because primarily our fire and security alarm monitoring fee, the company that we were with actually was bought out by a larger company. And when that happens, fees go up. So that was a slight increase. Ministry expenses, we're projecting $15,225. That's a slight increase over last year. And again, during the year, this past year, intern Pastor Rachel, as part of her studies, we didn't pay her to preach. Well, once she graduates, we're going to have to pay her to preach. Can you imagine? Benevolence, we were suggesting a slightly lower amount to the ELCA to kind of help us balance the budget. As you probably know, the gas bill at your house probably went up dramatically. Well, we have a bigger gas bill, and it went up dramatically. So expenses tend to have been increasing over the past year, something called inflation, I believe. So we're trying to adjust our budget to be balanced. Administrative expenses, we're recommending $42,000. That's an increase of $5,000 from last year. And basically all of our expenses have been increasing, especially utilities. Our auto expense, $1,000, is a slight decrease over last year. Some pastors donate that back to the church. We're supposed to pay them, but some of them are kind enough to go ahead and say, you know what, that's my donation back to the church, which is a very generous thing to do. Insurance expenses. I would like to thank Yolanda, our treasurer, for taking it upon herself and going out and finding an insurance company that had exactly or a little bit better coverage for about $3,000 less. So she did a great job this past year. So we're going to decrease our budget for insurance expenses to $7,300. Repair and maintenance expense, we're recommending $21,000. That's a slight increase over last year. As you're probably aware, our building, property, plumbing, their air conditioning systems all are wearing out. Sandy, can you bring that water up to me, please? Thank you. And we are also wanting to include, thank you. Should have brought it up with me. We're also wanting to install several more security cameras. Our security system has been really a blessing to us. From my home, I could look at the cameras on my phone, notice people that are on the property, make a phone call to the police department. The police department come over and ask them to leave. If they don't leave, you get arrested. So your choice is leave or arrest. Lately, I haven't had to do that for like the last couple of months. It's really been kind of a hit and miss, but I think winter has been a blessing to us. So we have some hidden spots, especially on the west side of the Lutheran room and youth room. That's a blind spot for me. And also there's a blind spot, we don't have cameras on the north parking lot, where a couple of our break-ins were on that north side where the celebration center, broken window, and then a broken window in the door. So if I have cameras that I could look at while I'm sitting at home, periodically during the day, 2-3 times a day, I'll look at the cameras, and I'll know when people are here or not. Typically they're in the office, but staff is on property. Horacion's here using the property on a Thursday evening I could see all these things at night. My wife goes, really? That's my calling, I guess. So we want to increase that a little, slightly. Payroll expenses will decrease because, again, intern pastor Rachel will be graduating, and we won't be paying that part of where her schooling gives us the money, and then we pay it out to her. After May, that won't be happening. Payroll expenses, payroll benefits, basically the same as last year. So our total expenses that we're budgeting for is $150,000, $845,000. Our total income is only $50 over that, $150,895. If this year is anything like last year, hopefully we'll come in really close to everything and we'll spend less money than we bring in, but only God knows exactly what's going to happen. But that is our proposed budget. Any questions on expenses? Okay. You want to call for a... Okay.
Thank you, Leonard. Yeah. Is there any more further discussion or questions about the budget? Okay, seeing one. Yes, Bonnie?
First of all, I would just like to say thank you to all of you who do so much for Trinity. And secondly, can you give me the number for a quorum?
I would have to go to someone who knows the numbers. The secretary?
Is it 12? What is the number for a quorum?
No, it's not 12.
I don't-
10, what is the percentage? Jeff knows. He worked on it. I'm sorry.
10% of our
Membership?
10% of
Our
our
membership is
regular membership.
around 100.
No, we don't have 100 anymore.
No.
Wish we did. No, I think it's 80, something like that. Christine, where are you? She probably knows. Having worked in the office, I worked on the mailing list a lot, but they're not all members.
So 10% of
There's a
80
lot
would
of,
be
even
80.
people that come all the time. Sometimes you might think they're members because they've been coming for so many years, but they never joined. So, do you have any idea how many members we have, Christine?
Officially?
Yeah. No, I mean actual members. We only send out about 80,
Well, those are two families too, so.
oh yeah, the
I'm estimating,
families.
even if it's
Yeah.
100, 10% of 100 is 10 people.
Yeah,
So
well,
we
we
have
have way
more
more
than-
than 10.
More
So
than a quorum.
anyway, because it's liberal, because just for this reason, all churches make them more liberal now because people don't come to church for the meetings. And if we had to have like 50% or something, nobody'd ever get their annual meetings accomplished. So that's why they're usually pretty low. Jeff has recently worked on the bylaws and the Constitution, so I trust him. He's probably the closest one that said 10%. So either way, we have, even if we had 100, which I really doubt, because I've seen the list, and there's people on the list that they don't even live here anymore.
You need to approve
They
it.
just never dropped out officially, but they don't even live in California anymore, and they're on the list, so.
Approve the budget.
Okay, so I would like to ask for a motion to approve the budget. Yes, Jack?
I'd like to move that we accept the budget for 2000.
Okay, Jack Simmons makes a motion that we approve the budget for 2023.
I'll second.
St. Jean seconds it.
Quick question.
Yes,
How many people are here today?
I don't know. But do we know that? Do we need to do that right now? Because I'm in the middle of a vote.
What was asked?
Can I talk about that right after we finish this? Okay. So, is there any further discussion? We have a first and we have a second. Is there any further discussion before I call for the vote? Seeing none, then all in favor of approving the 2023 budget as written, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, so the motion to pass the budget is approved. Thank you. Okay. Christine is here with a question and also with the results of our voting. Your question?
How many people are here today in attendance with a meeting?
Okay. Did anybody count today? They count, but there were 30 in church.
But not here.
Not all came. Do we want to count again? Is that what you want to do?
We have a count on the sheets, you know exactly.
Oh, we know how many ballots came in.
We voted
27.
so. Okay.
27 ballots, so that tells you right there, 27. That's more than enough for a quorum. Okay, any other questions? Okay, let me read the results. It looks like both slates were confirmed with unanimous voting, 100% confirmation on all of them. Thank you. My closing comments. It's been humble being your president this year. It's been a learning process, and I appreciate all the many people who have been praying and giving so many blessings to our council and everything we've been working on for you.
I think we should.
Thank you. You're welcome. I'd like to call up intern Pastor Rachel for a closing benediction.
I have a question.
Oh, another question before we close.
My question is, and I've seen it done both ways, being on the council numerous times. Are we going to install today, or are we going to install next Sunday? The new council?
We usually, I think we install later. Refresh my memory, do we install and also give you the responses to who's going to take what office? Because that isn't decided till they meet.
No, they don't.
No.
It's just that you're on.
Yeah, no, I didn't plan an installation today. I like to do that during a service. So it'll be forthcoming. Thank you very much for the question, Joe. Okay, go ahead, intern pastor.
Please pray with me. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for a calm and informative meeting today. We thank you for the ability to continue as Trinity Lutheran doing your will in this community. Pray you would continue to guide us. We pray you would guide the council, the new members, and those who are continuing to serve. And we ask this in your precious Son's name. Amen.